Something I don't talk about much on this channel is games. Probably because I play at a very slow rate. But as of a couple days ago, I am pleased to announce I have completed Tales of Vesperia. So as I normally do when I finish a game, I'm here to just kind of talk about it, talk about my experience. This isn't really a review, but this is always how I kind of celebrate me beating a game and just kind of bring everything to a close. Okay, so this is my third Tales game. I've played Zestiria, Berseria, and now Vesperia. I finished in about 57 hours. I was on level 60, and I started playing this in November of last year, so it's taken me all these months to complete it. But I also was playing Skyrim a lot at the same time. But this is what I mean. I play really slowly. I finish about 1 or 2 games a year, so that's why I'm not really talking about games that much on this channel. I liked Vesperia. It wasn't my favorite. I don't know if I'll replay it, but my favorite Tales game so far has definitely been Berseria. But as far as I remember, this is like a 2008 game. But I was playing the definitive edition. But this is an 08 game, so you can tell it's a little less advanced. However, there are some benefits to that. Anyway, let's get into my notes. Okay, first let me just start off with the characters. My favorite party for battle was Yuri, Estelle, Raven, and Judith. That was my ideal group, although I would try to mix things up so that everyone gets a turn. Okay, so let's talk about the characters. I love Yuri. He's great. One of my favorite things about Yuri was the fact that he would go kill people in the middle of the night. I thought that was awesome. He was really well balanced, having kind of a dark side, but also just being a nice and fairly approachable dude, even though he was also really like carefree, like he doesn't give a crap. He was great. Estelle, I love the way she looks. I loved the pink. And she was okay. You know, she's just like every other super docile, ultra feminine mage in these JRPGs, like Yuna from Final Fantasy X. I get a little bit tired of that trope, but Estelle was useful. Judith, I wasn't so sure about her at first, but she really grew on me. I mean, I know that was the point. Her character developed over time, and she just became a really cool person to be around. I like that she was also mysterious, you know, being a Christian and talking to the Intellikeia and all that. Carol. Okay, when I saw the cover of this game, I pointed at Carol and I was like, he's gonna annoy the crap out of me, I can tell. But he actually isn't that bad. He wasn't too obnoxious, but his personality was still annoying because, I don't know, I feel like he was always embellishing and over-exaggerating, especially with his relationships with people. He'd be like, oh yeah, I know them. And then they're like, who are you? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he clings to people more than they are even aware of his existence. Like, even with him and the Dawn, he's like, oh yeah, man, I know the Dawn. The Dawn told me this, blah, blah, blah. Like, he spoke to you once. You know, I guess Carol is like idolizing people too much, and he was always kind of making himself look like a more accomplished guilds person than he ever was. Okay, who's next? Patty. Patty was really interesting and fun at the beginning because she was so weird, but towards the end, when she was like starting to get her memories back and stuff, like her lines just didn't fit in with the conversation, and she was speaking in a lot of like piratey sayings and pirate-like similes, and she just kind of seemed disjointed from the group. I don't know. She was kind of weird at the end there. Also, Patty's Ifried. That's interesting. They didn't really expand on that. But okay. Raven. Raven's my favorite. He was the best character. His sense of humor was hilarious. His voice was great. I just loved everything about him. Oh, and then when he revealed himself as Schwan and then got killed, that was the most effective part of the game. Like, and in that it affected me. I was not the same. And oh my gosh, I was so glad to find out he had survived. But I love that Raven had these two sides to him, and both sides he was a total badass. Oh yeah, Flynn. Flynn was cool, I guess. He was fine. He was about as you would think he'd be. Oh, and Rapide. I don't know why they couldn't have gotten a real dog to voice him instead of a guy going woof. But okay. Oh yeah, and Rita. I accidentally read on Reddit that somebody said they freaking hated Rita because she was hateful and angry for no reason all the time. And I mean, I can see that, but I liked Rita. I liked her fiery personality. She was funny. Yeah, granted, she didn't always need to call Carol an idiot and hit him on the head every time he spoke, but I thought Rita was cool. Okay, I just have this like bullet list of notes that are in no particular order because I didn't prepare for this properly. The gameplay. Let's talk a little bit about the gameplay. So the game had several little issues that I noticed here and there. One being when we would go into those, like where you hit that middle button to open up just a little dialogue moment, a lot of times there were volume issues. So the music and the ambient sound of wherever we were would be up all the way, and then the volume of the dialogue was just really quiet and you wouldn't be able to hear them talking, so you just have to read the subtitles. That was weird. And there were also sections of the game where it seemed like they would have liked to have recorded the voice actors for that conversation, but maybe they added it too late or something. So there were some little moments where it's like that should have been parts that actually had the voices, but it didn't. The soundtrack, it was simple but cute. Like, it was a good soundtrack. I enjoyed it. You know, shorter loops, kind of more simplistic, but this is a little bit of an older game. This is an interesting time period in between like the classic JRPGs and then what we've got now. And similarly, the towns and the various places we'd visit, the layout was pretty simple. There'd be like, you know, a main path and maybe a couple little sections that would veer off, but they were very small. The negative of that is there's not much exploring to do, but the positive is you can't really get lost. I only got lost a couple of times in this game, which I was glad for. The graphics for this time period were really good, very cute. That classic sort of 3D anime style. You could tell that they were a little limited in what they could do in this game because it was 2008 or something like that, but I thought it looked really good. Now, one of the biggest complaints I have about this game is just nitpicky, I guess, but the names they would give these places and people. It all just sounds like someone just made something up and just jumbled a bunch of letters together and they're like, that's what we'll call that. I hated the way everything was named, and a lot of the names of people like Rago and Jaeger. Here, I made a list of some of the names I hated. Oh, air. Like the Blastia runoff of air, and the air is in the air. Why couldn't you call it something different besides air? We already have air. We don't need to get this confused. I hated that. I hated also like the name of that sword, Dane Nomos, Air Krene, Yoder, Yoder spelt with an I, and Intelakea with an X. Come on. Oh, and I wrote down Yoder's full name. Yoder Agiros Herosane. Oh yeah, and the name of their earth is Terca Lumerace. Oh, and there was another, the Weasand of Kados. Capua Nor. I hate all of those names so much. But while we're on the subject of names, I noticed, especially towards the end of the game, pronunciations of things were different. Like when we got that spirit named Undine, everyone was calling her something different. Undine, Undine, Undine. Like, did nobody meet before this and like figure out how to pronounce things? Also, Zaude. Everybody said Zaude different. Zod, Zada, Zauda, Zaude. I was like, who let this happen? That's something else I noticed about the voice acting, is it just felt like the voice actors at times didn't have the context of what they were saying. It's like they were just reading their line, but didn't know what the people had said before them or were saying after them. So it didn't have this like flow to it. All right, let's talk about like battle system and like the menu and all that kind of stuff. I thought that the skills, I got the hang of the skills okay. The battle system flowed pretty well. It wasn't entirely boring. And then like the weapons and items and all that are pretty standard. So I got along fine. I kept telling myself I needed to like refresh myself on the battle system and just make sure I was using everything that I could be using, but I just didn't. I did wish there was some sort of like grand gesture you could use, like pulling out all the stops. Like the over limit wasn't that satisfying, but I wish there was something you could do like armatization from Vesperia or something like a summon from Final Fantasy, but there just wasn't. You just had to keep on whacking. I also found it really annoying that you couldn't hit an enemy while they were knocked over on the ground. You just had to wait for them to get back up. One of my favorite places, I really liked Heliord because I loved the hotel. And then towards the end of the game, I loved the Arealumen Crystal Lands. Even though the name is stupid, that place was gorgeous. Okay, another little couple of notes. I hate Sodia. I hate her. I hate her so much. She is the real villain of the game. And another thing I hate is that they keep calling Raven old man. How old is he? He's like 30, isn't he? It was just really annoying that they wouldn't shut up about calling him an old man. So he fought in the war, right? So he, you know, that was 10 years ago. Didn't Judith fight in the war 10 years ago too? How come they're not calling her old lady? Oh yeah, that reminds me. The certain names of these main characters, Carol, Patty, and Judith, was not really a fan of those names. They grew on me after a while, but like, Judith? Patty? Whatever. Okay, and as for the ending, now something I thought was really interesting about this game was that it was like a revolving door of bad guys. You know, they would come, we'd kill them, and on to the next bad guy. And as far as the final battle, I thought it was cool that it was Duke. Like, he's kind of our friend, but we still have to fight him. I like Duke a lot. I thought the final battle was decent, but it was pretty easy. And then I thought after that we were going to fight the Autophagos, but we didn't, and then that was just the end. And they didn't really explain the Child of the Full Moon thing fully. I wish we would have had some way to tie that all up at the end better. But overall, it was a fun game, especially for its time period. I love Tales games. I've had a great time playing them these past few years. And I would say the strength of this game is definitely its characters, these main characters, and the character design. That's what made me want to keep playing. That's what kept me coming back. And I guess that's all I have to say about Tales of Vesperia. Congratulate me! I beat it. Yay! Time for a new era, which I think I'm gonna play Nier Automata next. I think I said all I wanted to say on this game, but if I forgot anything, I'll put it in the description or in the comments or something. Hopefully this video has attracted somebody who has played the game, so do let me know your thoughts on this game overall. And that is it. I'll see you in another year after I have finished another game. Bye!